Welcome to the Helping Homes Find Their People podcast hosted by the Galuzzo team. Today we're joined with Michael J. Alber, a prominent attorney concentrating in matrimonial, criminal, and civil law. With a career marked by high-profile cases and significant courtroom victories, Michael brings a wealth of knowledge and strategic insight. Today we'll explore how legal battles can affect personal and real estate interests and other things as well. Join us as we delve into the challenges and triumphs of a seasoned litigator. Thanks for coming, Mike, and welcome. How is everything going today?
Everything's great. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate you guys having me on this. This podcast is awesome that you guys have started. So I'm so happy to
tell
be here.
you, I'm kind of honored and I'm so proud of what you've achieved in such a young age. I know you since you're probably 9. You and your brother playing soccer in Comac and then moving over and playing soccer in Hewlett for some of the top teams in the state. So I've always been so proud of you, what you've accomplished soccer-wise, school-wise, business-wise, and now family. It's quite incredible. So very happy.
I appreciate that. It always helps to have great guidance, role models around you, especially growing up in sports. Great people around, from you to members of the Comac community to seeing others older than us play in the community. Train hard, lead by example. I think it makes a big difference in somebody's life, especially when you continue to grow on in business.
Cool.
And family, you just had a kid,
Yes.
a baby.
Yeah. Third one.
That's amazing. Congratulations.
Thank you. Third boy. We're officially done. This is it.
No try for the girl.
There's no fourth coming. We say that now, but I guess surprises happen, right?
They do, but that's awesome. Congratulations.
Thank
and
you so much.
I'm sure you're even more busy running the business and
Of
everything
course.
else. And
The day goes from 21 hours to 23, right?
And that goes into another thing. So you grew up playing soccer and all these other things. What led you into going into, becoming an attorney, going to school for that?
A lot of it had to do with my older brother. I was taking 3 different career choices. One, I was going to try and become a doctor, teach, or get into law. My brother, I got into law. I said, wow, this is pretty cool. Look at that. He had a big job in Manhattan, working for a large Manhattan firm. And I said, all right, I'll get into law. I had watched the O.J. Simpson trials when I was younger on television. And I admired some of the trial work that was being done, and it was somewhat intimidating when you first watch it. I think the combination of those experiences led me to go to law school.
Did you buy a Bronco by any chance?
No Bronco.
You actually just purchased a Bronco, actually.
My
recently.
wife and I have a Bronco as of Monday.
That's awesome.
Yeah, my wife wanted one. She's excited.
That's great.
They're pretty nice now.
They are.
A little different than the OJ one.
Yeah, they are pretty nice. They are.
Has anything come up recently that has been a difficulty for you that you had to overcome in any cases, or just like even mentoring yourself or anybody to get through it?
There are challenges because of technology. Technology and the change and impact on law is becoming a real issue. If you are not staying ahead of the curve, you will go out of business. Technology has advanced substantially the way law firms connect with clients from a technological basis. Amazon has kind of spoiled us. It's instant gratification. So somebody can go on Amazon the same way now. To find a lawyer, you can have a lawyer at your fingertips very quickly. The competition field is steep, but challenges are maintaining and keeping up with technology, maintaining newer ways to keep clients apprised of their matters, newer ways to connect, more streamlined approaches to resolving cases and issues, being able to tend to client data. As technologies improve, the volume of data that's available in a case becomes challenging because now you have text messages, emails, on WhatsApp messages, videos. Nowadays, video surveillance is everywhere. So that all becomes...
Let me pinpoint that. So if somebody videotapes us talking right now,
Right.
can it be admissible in court?
Depends. So under New York state law, party A can record party B. party A cannot record party B and C without one of their consent. So here, right, if somebody had a secret camera that was recording this particular session and we didn't know about that other secret camera, that could be an issue. Could be deemed to be unlawful surveillance, particularly where you have problems with unlawful surveillance. And we've dealt with these cases in both divorce cases as well as criminal cases that have the interplay between the two of them, husband and wife. One wants to catch somebody doing something, somebody puts a camera up, somebody thinks it's going to capture an argument, could lead to a lot of real issues. But New York state law does have a law about it. If party A is free to record party B, however, one of the parties to the conversation has to consent.
Has there anything come up with that, like Airbnb? Like if they usually say, oh, we have this camera facing the front only, but someone finds another camera inside the house of the Airbnb.
Intimate areas of the home or intimate areas could cause a real problem. Common areas, not so much. But I was involved in a litigation where the intimate area of a home was actually being litigated. It was a rather large home. The master suite had a separate section of the suite, and there was a question as to whether or not the living room area of the master suite was really just more of a common area, or was it the intimate area of the bedroom? And there's no right or wrong answer there. Many would say you still have an expectation of privacy in that area because of its location. But in the Airbnb concept, being careful of where a camera may go is a real issue.
Yeah.
Common areas, yes. Exterior of the property, sure. Anything beyond that, you're probably going to run into some difficulties. Maybe the living room area, if nobody's sleeping there, or it's just a common spot, like an open kitchen to living room type setup, you're probably going to get away with it.
So in other words, I better start putting my clothes on when I'm in Airbnbs.
Exactly.
Oh boy. All right. I might be on video many times. Just joking.
Yeah, I asked that because we're going to Airbnb in the future, and it says they only have one camera facing forward. But if you find other cameras, that'd be like weird if they have it. That could be interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then when you were mentioning like WhatsApp and all that stuff, do these companies have to like legally give you that information over, or the person that's being prosecuted or anyone that's in the court have to give that to you?
The Stored Communications Act makes it very, very difficult to get data from Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, WhatsApp. There are all different theories about whether WhatsApp saves data, whether it disappears. Newer technology is capturing things in a cloud. So even though you think it may be gone, it's not. It's through subpoena power. In a particular state like New York, you could get a subpoena issued by a judge. However, a lot of these entities that store data are out of state. And it becomes problematic because then enforcing an out-of-state subpoena somewhere else, if you want to have Florida, well, there's a procedure. You have to then file a local subpoena down in Florida with counsel there in order to get the proper ordering of an enforceable subpoena. A New York state subpoena on a Florida company, they're going to argue, a Florida lawyer would on behalf of the company saying this is not enforceable, you didn't follow the right procedure.
Being blocked, what other ways would you even go about that? With using technology, would you have to go somewhere else then?
A couple of different ways. One is you can, through discovery, like in a divorce case, you can demand certain communications of the other side. If those communications exist, you can do it by a discovery and inspection request. If it gets denied and you know it exists, you can then file a motion to compel production. If it's still not produced, you can seek court intervention, saying the other side has this, and a judge can issue an order under contempt powers ordering the production of the item. In one particular case in Brooklyn, there's a case that I'm thinking about where cell phones were actually sequestered and held as evidence, with a judge directing that law enforcement, in this case I believe it was the sheriff's office, New York City Sheriff, to search the phones. and do an electronic download of the phones because there was material evidence in the case. In fact, I think it's been a while since I read the case, but there was an unlawful surveillance element to it. And there was the husband, I believe, had represented certain things at a deposition that were a lie, and opposing counsel knew it and had the goods and information and took the steps properly to do it. So if you can't get it through a third-party subpoena on these big companies, you can try and get it directly from the party because they have access to the information.
Wow. That's interesting. And then when, let's say, like, you're working with a divorcee, then they try to delete messages. Do you recommend not doing any of that? Would that be like tampering?
Yeah, no deletion.
You find the text messages because they didn't get deleted because they're in like iCloud memory or whatever.
Yeah, and no deletion of text messages.
Yeah.
First off, if you delete evidence or what could be evidence in a civil or criminal proceeding, you can be charged. If it is deemed to be evidence or foreseeable that it is evidence and you start deleting, that is a problem.
Yeah.
We absolutely, unequivocally will not instruct clients to delete anything. The reality is twofold. One, legal liability, and two, if it's found out as well, credibility. Because you're gonna make a situation worse. You're gonna exacerbate a situation by making a piece of evidence appear that much more important because you deleted it. It's like a consciousness of guilt. So we always instruct, don't delete.
Yeah.
We have to explain an issue. We explain it.
No matter how nervous and freaked out they get.
No matter how nervous and freaked out.
Yeah.
I'm sure that's the first inclination. Delete.
Delete.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
But even on a phone forensic, you can find out if something was deleted.
You can.
Yeah.
You can.
But you can't find out what it said.
Depends on the forensic. Most are not as invasive to be able to find out what specifically was said. However, there are ways, contingent upon how detailed the forensic software is, of potentially trying to get that deleted item.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Wow. My knowledge of law comes from suits. So that's how I go back. So, but going to Suits, I'm just going to cut off on a tangent. The show was dynamic. It was really cool because I love New York setting, even though it was filmed in Toronto.
Sure.
But I did love the show. I love the suits. I love the clothing. I loved everything aspect about it. How real is it that an attorney, non-attorney, can become an attorney? Can he pass the bar and become an attorney with bypassing college, bypassing law school?
So I have not researched that issue specifically for New York, but I'm pretty confident if I were to review it, the answer to that question is no. You must proceed through law school and then take the New York State bar and pass the exam. We don't have an apprentice type system, to my knowledge. Other states do. Other states have other means to be able to have somebody admitted to the practice of law. California may be one of those jurisdictions. I think Kim Kardashian, I don't know if she had taken an exam and wasn't formally in law school, but there was some apprenticeship that she had done. I don't know if she's continuing, but I think that was California based.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So there's no hope for me bypassing college then and just taking the bar.
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
No hope. No.
I don't think so at all.
All right.
I will tell you.
I'll keep that up.
You probably would pass.
Because he's so charismatic, it might work.
I'm Mike.
That is a great show though. Do you see any of realism in Suits of like how it actually is, or no?
It's been a while since I've watched it. It hints at some of the pressure that lawyers go through and some of the hours. The hours can be absolutely gruesome and grueling. If you are in certain areas of law, you will work very, very, very hard. So it does hint at some realisms with respect to that.
Yeah. Well, sorry, all Suit guys. It's not fully true, but it is almost there. So the other thing I wanted to go over was going back to technology. Do you see artificial intelligence being like an issue coming forward for anyone that's in law and practicing?
Artificial intelligence is going to be an issue because it has to be checked. You're going to have attorneys there that are going to cut corners and going to put things into chat GPT and want to get a motion that's spit out, go rely on it. There are some published decisions about attorneys being sanctioned for, in essence, drafting documents with chat GPT case law that is just, frankly, was either reversed, overturned, or bad law.
Yeah.
That's why I think there is an issue. Is there possibly some benefit to a starting point for an attorney? I would imagine. I have not personally used the function, but I would imagine that there is, because it could be a starting point for an attorney to start off to get language in place. Cut down the hours to draft a motion, cut down the hours to punch out a contract, cut down the hours to do that stuff. Yes. To that extent, that could be very problematic in certain areas of law.
Yeah.
The job market may start to structure and change. Law firms may downsize on the basis of the availability of technology to replace certain aspects of their functions. I don't think it will completely change the profession, but it's going to have significant impact.
Yeah. I feel like it would, whoever's using it would lose integrity, or
Correct.
just not really understand what ChatGPT or any other AI system would be putting out for them.
Correct.
And then they wouldn't be really involved in the case as much as they should be.
Correct.
Well, we see it in real estate even. I can read somebody's description in, their listing. I'm like, this is so just taken off of ChatGPT. It's so generic, or it's so languishing. Like, oh my gosh. I really feel like, yeah, you could use it as a basis. And then you use your own words to fill in the blanks.
Adapt it. Sure.
Adapt it. Because I see these long-winded things. I don't even know what they're talking about half the time.
Yep.
So I think people in the real estate business have to start thinking, and I'm sure lawyers are using it like crazy too.
We are not at the firm. However, some of my colleagues have referenced hearing about attorneys that have done it. Other states seem to be catching on to this a lot faster because there are some decisions coming out of certain states with respect to sanctions on lawyers for, like I said, citing bad law or relying on ChatGPT that's not exactly accurate information. I'm sure it'll get up to speed like anything else, and I'm sure it'll improve over time, but it's not going to be a substitute for nuanced decision-making, in my opinion. But then again, as technology grows, you never know.
Well, I guess it's almost like Wikipedia, where people quote Wikipedia like it's 100% accurate, but it's really not.
It's really not.
Yeah, it's people just putting what they think is the truth into it themselves.
Yep.
And for when we put in listings in the description, we are held by certain types of guidelines and rules that we can't say certain things. Is that the same? That would definitely be the same with you guys, almost in a certain way.
Yeah, I mean, there are, being able to cite case law that's accurate, being able to cite case law that supports your position, that's valid law, those are rules and guidelines that lawyers have to follow and have to abide by.
Yeah.
The time mechanisms and being accurate and what you're doing and how you're drafting a motion, how much time you spend, you have to be accurate, right? But there are guidelines. There's procedure, civil practice law and rules, criminal procedure. There's procedures in every type of area of law. Domestic relations law is a guideline and guidance and rule of law with respect to divorce cases. The Family Court Act is a guideline with respect to the Family Court Act, what you can do and what you can't do, what qualifies as a family offense, what doesn't. So ChatGPT may, if they memorialize those guidelines and incorporate them, may have a strong shot at really eliminating some hours of work on the guidelines. But like we talked about, I think it's a starting point. It's not an ending point.
Yeah. So you're against AI more, or you're with it a little bit just for the time wise?
I'm with it to a certain extent because the speed at which the American public and New York public wants information is immediate.
Yeah, it's pretty
They
substantial.
want immediate delivery of information. And I think a lot of that, like I mentioned earlier, is you have some really top level companies out there like Amazon that can deliver information, product very quickly. Uber Eats, you want something, you can have it at your door, right? Car service, you click a button, Uber shows up, Lyft shows up, whatever program you have. So I think from that perspective, I think it's going to help deliver information and help speed up the process for the public.
What do you think about the AI? You in it?
Oh, I'm not. I mean,
like
no,
it?
I actually used it a couple of times, but it's not. I think it's you have to be your own self.
Right.
You know, somebody can't use the words that I would like to use.
Right.
And be me. I mean, I'm a one-man show in my own body. I can't have a ChatGPT doing all the speaking for me or speeches for me. So I listen, I'm older. I'm not a young man anymore. I guess these young kids now are going to start focusing on ChatGPT.
Still look 40.
Thank you. I love you. I feel 40. I don't feel 60. And I love being 60. I love being a little bit more wiser than I was at 40, to be quite frank. You know, I learned a lot in my career as a realtor and in the real estate business. So it took me a long time to get to be 60, to be nice and calm and cool and giving and caring. So I grew into that role. And sometimes when you're in your 20s and using ChatGPT, you may not grow into that role. It might be just throw it out there.
Automated.
Automated.
Yeah, automated. Can't
Lose
think by yourself.
authenticity.
The aspect of socialization, and we've spoken about this before in the show.
We have.
I think the young groups or young men, young women are losing social skills. They can't even have a conversation without taking their phone out and typing. And I've been in meetings now, and as I'm talking,
Sure.
they're just typing away. It's a different, listen, again, I'm not young, but I still think socialization is very important.
It is.
And, you know, you're in the business of social skills.
Yes.
You know how, if you're just using a ChatGPT model and you give it to the judge, it's different than you going in as a person
Of course.
and talking to them. They see your face. They see your reactions. They see the way your eyes are and how you're really into this. You're an honest and you're truthful. They can read all of that. And if you're doing stuff without that knowledge, I don't think you'll succeed. And I think that's why you succeed so well in what you do, because you're open, you're caring, and people can see that you're transparent. And I think that's what about the Galluzzo team. We're open, we're honest, we're committed to the virtue of real estate. And I know you are of law. So I think that's a big common denominator that we're missing here, that you need.
Yeah, it'd be like the one-on-one relationship with everyone around you.
And there are difficulties, I think, with developing lawyers to have the same skill set, right? Because you start, one of the complexities we have as a brand, as a firm, is trying to maintain a firm brand and a communication style and a communication ability. Lawyers can sometimes lack the ability to explain to the client the issues. They may be very good in a courtroom, but then it goes back to that socialization aspect. And with ChatGPT and reliance on that, that socialization aspect may very well decrease, and the ability to convey information to your client outside of the normal confines of the courtroom could be problematic. Could lead to a lot of breakdown in attorney-client relationship. And it's important, I think, that perhaps we don't lose sight of that. And I think you're right.
It has a lot to do with sports. You know, your job, my job is also has to do with sports. You're on a team. Even if you're sole practitioner, it's still like a team.
But you're on a team.
And, you know, soccer players, Arsenal, there's a program. There's a team focus. This is how we play.
Of course.
We're playing in a certain style. Baseball, we're playing in a certain style. There's rules as a team. And you as an individual have to abide by those rules. You have to be able to handle that. And a lot of players can't. And then they get traded. Or they leave, they're not in a good position. So I'm sure your firm's very similar to that.
Yes.
So it's interesting.
Yeah, going back to suits, do you guys do like courtroom practices or trainings with everyone in the firm?
We do. We had a business valuation training that went on about 2 weeks ago. We're now going to do retirement, qualified domestic relations law training seminar on the breakdowns of retirement accounts and so forth.
Hmm.
We've done some sample mock examinations of witnesses. If somebody's going on a major trial, which we had recently, we would go into session or put somebody on a cross-examination. With having a firm, that's a good benefit because you can get an outside view to come in to be able to analyze a particular case. So we do a lot of team work, a lot of bouncing ideas off each other, and a lot of training from that perspective.
Yeah, I feel like that's super beneficial for everyone involved,
Definitely.
just so they get a better idea of what to do.
Totally.
Yeah, that's pretty interesting.
Bringing that point, and I've been mentioning this to my team, I want to start doing that. I want to start doing some trial, like listing presentations, trial talking to just general public, trial knocking on doors.
Yeah.
Just to get that, it's like a mock trial, I guess.
Yeah.
We want to do like a mock listing agreement. And I think that's something we talked about, and I'm going to start really working on that with our firm.
Yeah,
branding, too.
our
Yeah, it's
brokerage does
branding.
it. Yeah, our brokerage does. When we go to these like those trainings and conferences, we do have one-on-ones and little group sessions regarding all of that. So it definitely helps everybody just to get a better idea of how this person works, or what do they do different, and how can I change my my presentation to kind of help with that scenario.
No question.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
So what is your favorite part of your business?
Jury trials.
That's it. That's your bread and butter.
Jury trials are the most entertaining aspect of a lawyer's career, in my opinion. There is, whether you are trying a major criminal case or a plaintiff's case as well, personal injury case, having to cross-examine a witness under pressure in a courtroom. I mean, I give the lawyers on the Trump trial, both sides, prosecution, defense, a ton of credit. Both sides are under tremendous pressure. You can look at the defense table and you can see the lack of sleep just by looking in attorneys' eyes. And they've been preparing for a while, but no, you can never stop preparing.
Hmm.
When you're on trial, no matter how ready you are, you're never ready enough.
Yeah,
You will always feel, no matter how much time you put in, you will have a standard of readiness for yourself. Nobody's ever really ready to try a case. It's, you give it everything you got. It's like going to play a game. You prepare the best you can. Does everybody know the outcome of the game before you play? No. Things are going to change. Things could get exhausting. You could have surprises, and that's trial work. So trial work, if I had my druthers and I didn't have to do anything other, I would just try cases all day long in a courtroom.
hmm
Interesting.
Do you have to do like juror interviews and stuff just to?
You do.
You
Well,
set the-
jury selection is tricky.
Yeah.
And jury selection is getting very difficult in New York. It's getting difficult because from county to county, you can have a wide range of jurors with backgrounds. You have to be careful how you come across. You have to be careful how you approach a juror. Jury selection is an art, it's a skill, but also it's getting people to talk and genuinely give you feedback.
Mhm.
And sometimes it's feedback about your theory of a case that you don't like, but that's actually the feedback that you need. This jury's about deselection. It's a deselection process.
Yeah.
Who I absolutely do I have to get rid of on this jury who is not going to accept the theory of our case, or who's not going to be here to do that. And that can be challenging because you have limited time constraints to get to know 30 people in a panel and have 15 minutes for round one for questioning. You're going to find out if somebody's really going to be fair and impartial. They had catastrophes at the Trump trial with that.
Yeah.
With jurors giving lip service and then them finding out that jurors have flat out lied, to try to make it onto a jury. I have to try a case in West Virginia. That is a completely different ballgame and dynamic. I have to go through a lot of understanding local culture, style, and how I approach jurors. It's going to be a challenge.
Yeah.
No matter how good of a lawyer you are, the human connection to a jury and a different population is really, really, really important.
hmm
Something I think that the lawyers at Trump's trial, for the most part, both sides, did the best they could and selection. It's a really difficult jury selection. And frankly, it's very difficult for the judge. He has a certain political affiliation or persuasion in the case, and then he's stuck in a position where he's got to decide the law, and then he might have his own personal biases. And
that is something that we have seen. There is still a person behind that robe.
Correct. And that could be really conflicting.
Mm-hmm.
You have somebody who's a registered Republican on the bench may feel slightly conflicted because they're going to get pressure from the prosecution side with applications, and they may feel as though issues of law should be decided a certain way, and then their own political affiliation may not want them to decide that way. So it's a challenge, and that's why the courtroom process or trial becomes ever more challenging in the newer environments, especially today's climate.
And it goes back to technology. They could say one thing, and then you go find their Twitter, and you see a whole spectrum of things.
Can you do search on Facebook?
You can, and given the resources of Trump's team and Donald Trump, they have resources.
Sure.
So I'm pretty sure they vetted as much as they could because they were quoting social media pages for some of the jurors.
Were.
Yeah.
So I think that obviously, the more resources you have, not everybody has those resources.
Yeah, wouldn't like Twitter and all that? Those are public apps, so
they
can technically be used by anybody because
they
you're
can
publicly letting it out there.
They can be used by anybody. It's public. You can find it. I guess there are ways to make your profile private, and you therefore can't find it. But there are ways of finding it, and I'm sure, like I said, from their team and their perspective, as I looked at the jurors that were selected, I'm sure they did a good job of jurors that they couldn't even question that much of trying to find out as much as they could outside of the courtroom.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think, and I'm pretty confident they hired a data consulting company, a jury consulting company to crunch data with respect to various jurors, to give advice on the psychology of the ideal jury you're looking for, what to be careful of.
So there is a company that can actually help you analyze.
There are a lot of them out there. They're expensive, challenging. Casey Anthony trial used it down in Florida, although if you read the book, for Jose Baez's book, he talks about showing up to jury selection the first day, and they thought they had a juror consultant, and it turns out it was not a juror consultant company, and there was a mistake, and somebody would show up, and then but ultimately he had people there, and I like to do that too when I try a case, have regular people there in the audience, watching jurors, taking notes. As lawyers, sometimes we miss cues.
Yeah.
Where
you can't see all how many jurors are there.
Where a regular person sitting in the audience says, listen, that person's demeanor is not well. They don't like you. They're not buying into what you're saying. They're not going to go well. You're not going to spend your time convincing them of anything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, like my cousin Vinny.
I was literally thinking that too.
Right. Cousin Vinny, that was a real scene, pretty much, right?
Sure.
Yeah, he turned those jurors around.
Yeah.
Right?
Sure.
And then do you have a motion? Do you have like a hand motion that you like? Like in my cousin Vinny, he kept using that hand motion. We must. He used his hand motions like that. I know you're Italian, so is there like a motion that you use?
They tell you in all trial tactics and courses and studying to limit your hand gestures. However, it's difficult.
Yeah.
Because anytime you have to be passionate before a jury about a topic, you're never convincing jurors with their brain. You're convincing jurors by penetrating their heart. That is the only way you're going to get a juror to do something in your favor. Knowing that there could be a level of animation from a lawyer and a level of belief from a lawyer that could naturally lead to their body mechanics to being able to express that, right? Hand gestures, pointing, things like that, right? Animation. So I think we all naturally have that.
Yeah.
Almost like a TED Talk. If you watch almost all the TED Talks, the ones that catch the most numbers, the highest numbers, are the ones where they used their hand signals and moved around the stage and kept the focus of the audience. So I tried it one day and it really works. People were paying attention more And when I said number 1, people noticed. 2, 3. And people reacted to that more than they react just to sitting on your hands.
Yep.
Which a lot of people just sit on their hands, you know, during a speech or on the podium. So I found that interesting. And I'm sure that you're eloquent when you're doing it and you're believable. You come across believable.
Do you practice in the mirror, or do you like
Opening statements in summation are not rehearsed, but sequenced, practiced. How does it sound? How does it connect? Being comfortable and being able to convey thoughts to a jury is a skill. It takes a lot of time. There are trials that I vividly have memories of spending a lot of time on summations, even though there are jury studies in general that say jurors have made up their mind prior to summations, that pretty much from opening statements on, jurors are forming opinions. From jury selection on, their predispositions and opinions being formed, and that they don't really have a tremendous impact on a case. Trial lawyers differ about that, but think about it from a natural human perspective. You're being told a story. It's natural to rush to judgment and to want to think, oh, I know what's going on here, right? Or something really compelling strikes you, and it's too overwhelming for you. That might not be overwhelming for someone else. So that's why, as lawyers, we still put a ton of time into opening statements and summation. We don't script. Well, cross-examination is preparation. Not scripted. Aspects can be, contingent upon the trickiness of the questioning. But really, it's not. It's just planned. It's studied. It's knowing where you're going to go and how you're going to go. It's being organized. It's anticipating what witnesses may say and how it fits the theory of your case or goes against you.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of rehearsal and preparation there.
That's super interesting.
Yeah.
But basically, another aspect that I was pretty interested in with jury, it's like choosing it is one thing, but then actually getting all of it done.
Sure.
Like, how do you feel after the case is done and you're past it and everything is finished? Is there an adrenaline rush, or how do you feel after any
I
like
can
of the
tell you,
things?
there's a case in my career that I vividly will never forget. Watching and hearing a jury foreperson stand up in a case that you absolutely unequivocally believe that somebody was dead set innocent, that was getting completely wronged by the justice system, who faced decades of incarceration. Hearing a jury foreperson stand up and say not guilty 18 times in a row is relieved, because as a defense lawyer, you are the last stop before a wrongful conviction. You're it.
Yeah.
So if you have to give it everything you have, and you have to be extremely prepared and organized, because somebody's life is in your hands, literally. So that can be, tough, and there is a big relief. To the contrary, having a devastating verdict can really trouble a trial lawyer.
Yeah.
It could really sideline you for a bit, just because it's hard to grasp.
It must be emotional.
Yeah,
all the
it's
different
tough.
things.
Yeah.
Sure. You're drained.
You got to, as a trial lawyer, you have to check your ego at the door, because you're gonna get shot down. You're gonna get things that you didn't anticipate, and that could be exhausting. The end process is relieving. It's even better when it goes in your favor. It could be tough if it doesn't.
Yeah.
Because then you're facing with the aftermath of what you do then. For those that have been in sports and played or functioned on a high level, or used to that pressure and atmosphere, they know how to respond to a loss. It still hurts, but they know how to respond and what to do. But it's tough.
Yeah, you gotta be like really strong.
Yeah, and it's a separation from your family.
Yeah.
It's preparing. It's blank stares. It's not speaking. It's eating at a dinner table and focusing and not talking. And people say, well, why does it happen? It's because, well, if you do it right and you care, you're going to completely be invested and prevailing.
Yeah.
Right.
How old were you when you did your first trial?
24.
Wow.
24.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's really interesting.
Yeah, that is. And one of the things you just noted, and it really hits home, check your ego at the door.
Yep.
So I think that if you live in commitment, you're committed to this case, you're committed to your client, you're committed to everything about it, it comes across.
Does.
And leaving your ego again out. I mean, men and women all have egos.
Sure.
Right? It's kind of driving us.
Right.
But if you use your commitments ahead of your ego,
Of course.
then it helps. So I agree with you 1,000,000%. And you become like believable and lovable, and people want you to win.
Yep.
They want your client to go free if at all possible,
Yes.
because they believe and trust and like you.
Correct.
And that's why, like in our real estate company, I think that's why people like us and trust us and appreciate the way we do our business, because they really think we're committed to them, and we are. And that's what I liked about your comment there, because that drives us, and I know it drives you and your family.
Of course. Yeah.
You know, your family's very much like our family. We're both family businesses in theory.
Yes.
You know, you have your brother and your other brother, your twin brother that we didn't mention, who's also an attorney, but he chose to go in a different avenue.
Yes.
So all pretty much the same.
You guys all live in New York, or?
All in New York
That's awesome.
for now.
He loves Florida.
Yeah, Florida is definitely where a lot of people are going right now. Yeah.
Well, I love Naples too. I love that area. I do.
Florida's the best.
It's very nice. It's wonderful when you're down there. But we really love New York, and we'll see where
It's
we
hard
end
to
up.
leave.
It's hard to leave.
It's hard to leave.
But the winters are hard to stay.
Quite hard.
That's why you have to take advantage as long as you can go
Of course.
snowboard or do something snow related
That's
and
right.
get away a little bit. Then that's the only time you get. But it is hard. This
Now,
has
are
been
you
tough?
licensed in every state or
No.
4 states?
Licensed in New York. Gonna look to. I've been pro hoc vice in various states, which is for that case only, because I've taken cases across the country. However, there are talks about, because of our expansion process, about getting admitted in other states due to our business model changes and so forth. So we're probably gonna, both myself and my partner, get admitted to various states across the country.
Is there a reciprocity?
A lot of the states have it.
Yeah.
They do. California does not. Florida does not. I think there's one other off the top of my head that does not.
Yeah.
Most
in
of the
real
states
estate
do.
too is very similar.
Yeah.
Florida does not. They want you to take that 96 hour or 90
Exam.
hours, whatever
Yep,
it is.
Yep.
Even though I've been in the business for 36 years,
Yep.
I don't know enough,
Yep.
and I need to take the course. So we're working on that one.
You gotta double check. Well, online you can't take law classes online or anything. You have to be there in person.
To my knowledge, no.
Yeah.
So what I would have to do if I was going to try to get admitted to Florida is I would take the Florida bar, and then see if I passed, and then ultimately get put paperwork in to get admitted there.
Yeah.
And I know people that have done it.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And the bar exam in Florida is very similar to the bar exam in New York, or is it really totally different state rules, state laws?
Similar. And there were talks about in the past of, I had contemplated it 2 years ago taking it. I didn't, just because of time. You have to devote a ton of time to obviously trying to take the exam and running a business and so forth.
It is tough.
Yeah,
And you got a lot going on. So
exactly.
Well, one thing I noticed,
growing family and everything.
you don't sweat. You don't get nervous. You don't get flustered. This is good for a trial lawyer.
Yeah, you
Because
really,
I can tell, like,
yeah, you really can.
I'm sure you can see in a trial attorney, and that person is sweating and
Yes.
nervous and anxiety.
Yes.
Am I trusting that person? No way.
Yeah.
So you're nice and calm. You're not sweating. You're nice, relaxed. Your eyes are not moving.
No, you have to be that way. I think if you're used to the pressure process and understanding how pressure works and so forth, it is what it is. I mean, it takes time. Now I just get numb to the pressure. I'm not, I have a trial coming up that's going to have significant impact that I've been preparing for a while.
Yeah.
So I'll be switching gears this weekend to totally get in trial mode zone again and just
New
focus.
York trial.
New York trial. Yeah.
What if you can say, is there a favorite trial you ever had? Are you allowed to say anything about anything?
Yeah, yeah. I tried a case in downtown Manhattan for almost 5 months, and it was an allegation of enterprise corruption. I had a client that was accused of being part of this large organization and network of people that I think it was like 299 pattern acts of what in the federal system would be racketeering. But New York County DA's office and the Cyrus Vance brought a indictment accusing certain people to be part of a crime family.
Yeah.
Okay. And the case went on for a while, but the case was challenging because of the volume of material. The volume of material was massive. In so many ways, the allegations were, in my opinion, not truthful. And there were certain aspects of the case that could cause a lot of pressure. So it's tough because I commute every day, right? On trial for the next 4.5 to 5 months. I'm completely displaced from my business. Can't do intakes. So I would come back at night. I would do my intakes at like 7 to 11 p.m. And then I would go back to studying for the trial from like 11 to 3, 11 to 4. I'd get 1 or 2 hours of sleep. I'd get up and I'd go again to get onto the train to head back into the city for a trial that took every ounce of life out of me. Because my client was going to face the rest of his life dying in jail. So that was also a pretty strong impetus of me going forward to do everything I could. And it was an interesting trial. I had to change suits throughout the trial because I gained so much weight. I gained about 40 pounds while on trial.
No.
Yep. I couldn't.
Wow.
I gained a ton of weight. I was changing my suits that didn't fit. And yeah. So.
Did you finally end up in a tuxedo? I'm sure you did not.
But it was definitely, it was challenging, and it ultimately ended in it was a hung jury for a period of time. We had thought that they were going to acquit them, and then it ultimately ended in a mistrial, and it had to deal with certain juror issues, and jurors were not getting along, and it was a really long trial.
Yeah.
To expect a jury to sit for 5 months on one of Manhattan's largest organized crime indictments is really difficult.
Yeah.
Right.
5 months.
Yeah.
Sequestered, right?
Yeah. No sequestration, so they were allowed to go out in the public, but that's tough too because you're coming every day to the same spot. You're away from your work, you're away from school, whatever you're doing, and it was challenging for us. I had to get boxes shipped to the courthouse.
Yeah.
So I can't carry them in every day. I think it was like 26 boxes of material that got shipped. And then on the eve of jury selection, the government had dropped off like another 100,000 pages of material, of what we call Rosario material about statements. On the lead cooperating informant, I had 6 binders of material set up for my examination of the lead informant in the case, from previous trial transcripts to everything you can imagine. So,
Wow.
But it was challenging. I mean, I've had a ton of other challenging cases, but that was challenging because of the dynamics.
Yeah.
I was relieved when it was done, and in part because it really displaces you from your life.
Sure. Now, they didn't retry it. So
They were going to, and my client had wound up passing away.
Oh.
Oh,
Okay.
So.
Wow.
that's interesting.
So we had 4 or 5 months of also his life it took out of him.
Yeah, and he was pending trial. He was incarcerated for 3 years pending trial.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. But it was an exciting trial, especially since my co-counsel were just fantastic.
Yeah.
They're awesome. They were 4 defendants on trial. We got along really well. We're very close to this day. We still talk to each other.
Manhattan based?
Manhattan based. My one buddy he's got an office in Manhattan. Another one of the attorneys is retired now. And then Stacy Richmond, who's Mary Richmond's daughter, who's a friend of mine, who's an excellent lawyer. Somebody great to learn from, her dad, right? I mean,
Yeah.
But she's stellar, absolutely stellar. She was one of the attorneys on the case as well, and it was an awesome experience. I'm friends with them to this day. So,
Who is your number one attorney, live or dead?
The best trial lawyer I've ever witnessed is Bill Petrillo. Bill Petrillo is still alive. He's still practicing law. He is absolutely, hands down, the best. I was fortunate to be able to watch him. Fortunate to be able to learn everything that I could from watching him. I watched him in a courtroom. Steve Scaring, absolutely stellar.
All right, scaring, maybe.
Steve Scaring is absolutely a stellar trial lawyer.
Mm-hmm.
Stellar. I watched him many a times. Studied. I talked to Bill a lot about trial work back when I was closer with him, back when he was trying more cases. He had an office in Rockville Center where I had an office as well at one point earlier in my career. And he is, in my opinion, the best that I've seen. I've watched Jose Baez on TV, and I've watched his cross-examinations, and I've watched his trial performance. He is incredibly gifted.
Mm-hmm.
And so anytime I could ever watch somebody that I really respect like those guys, it's helpful. Because it really helps you.
Yeah. Practice makes perfect, and understanding from other people is the most beneficial thing.
And that's why I watch Sunset Boulevard, by the way, so I can learn how those real realtors in LA do all their business.
All right. Thanks for tuning in to today's episode with Michael J. Alber. We appreciate him sharing his expertise on all things legal challenges and strategies that impact both the courtroom and real estate. His insights help demystify the complexities of law that touch everyday lives. Make sure to subscribe to all of our channels from YouTube, Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon. We are on all platforms. We also have a TikTok where you can see all our updates and everything on there as well. Thank you for coming, Michael. This is really greatly appreciated. We would love to have you now another time, and really good luck with the family growing, and thank you for coming.
Thank you, guys.